this striking piece of music made by the artist Cosmo Sheldrake, we hear the morning wake-up call of the nightingale, a bird species which inhabits the trees of Acadian forests here in Nova Scotia. Acadian forests are the woodland ecosystems that cover part of the Canadian Maritime provinces, stretching from Nova Scotia to New Brunswick, Prince Edward Island, and even parts of the northeastern United States, where they spill into and interact with boreal forest ecosystems of these northern states. The Acadian forest ecosystem is distinct from other local forest types in their diversity and species richness. They contain more than 60 distinct tree species, including softwood trees like the white pine, balsam fir, and red spruce, and hardwood tree species like the white birch, red maple, and red oak. These trees support breeding bird populations such as the nightingale, and provide habitats for wide-ranging mammals such as squirrels and bigger animals like the Canada lynx. Sadly, less than 1% of old-growth Acadian forests remain due to the lumber/logging industry, and the World Wildlife Fund now lists the ecosystem as endangered. The younger growth forests are less resilient to insects, forest fires, and windstorms than multi-generational forests, further contributing to the decline of these habitats. Decline in forest habitats has been shown to contribute to climate change, as trees absorb CO2 gas, which contributes to global warming, and converts it into the oxygen we breathe through the process of photosynthesis. As we learned in this course, in ecology we must examine the multifaceted biotic and abiotic connections in all ecosystems. Organisms are greatly affected by their habitat, and in turn, the habitat is affected by the organisms that inhabit it. One biotic interaction that has a great effect on the species richness of Acadian forests is interspecific competition between tree species. Interspecific competition being defined as an organism-to-organism interaction, usually antagonistic, wherein different species present in the same ecosystem compete for the same resources. Abiotic elements of the environment, such as rising temperatures due to climate change, can contribute to this competition and in turn determine the dominant species and species richness of the ecosystem. Climate change reduces availability of resources important to plant growth, such as water, increasing interspecific competition. This contributes with other negative effects of climate change to increase forest vulnerability and can cause the extinction of tree species which lack the adaptive capacity to make growth adjustments to successfully compete for dwindling resources with other species and survive environmental stressors. In a 2018 scientific study by DeGraaf, funded by the government of New Brunswick, it was found that there are likely only 9 tree species in Acadian forests which will survive in the long term, with 4 distinct species being likely to increase in growth and distribution due to adaptive capacity and success in competition, being the red maple, red oak, white ash, and white pine. This decrease in species richness contributes to the vulnerability and extinction of Acadian forest ecosystems, and in turn, the decrease in habitat for many bird species and other organisms that call these forests home. We must prioritize conservation efforts to try and restore the ecological resistance and species richness of the Acadian forest ecosystems endangered not only by the effects of climate change modulated by interspecific competition, but also the destruction that the logging industry has wrought upon old-growth tree communities. As colonialism greatly contributed to the destruction of these forests, it is very important to incorporate Indigenous perspectives and teachings into conservation efforts, as local Indigenous communities protected forests and lived responsibly, caring for and coexisting successfully with plant and animal species for generations before European settlers arrived. This principle of combining Western ways of knowing with Indigenous ways of knowing is called two-eyed seeing, and was invented by the Mi'kmaq elder Albert Marshall in 2004. The Indigenous perspective centers humans' connection to the land much more than the Western perspective's concept of nature, which is often framed as separate from us rather than something that we are actively a part of, and that we have a great effect on, and in turn has a great effect on us. This knowledge of our interconnectedness with the land, a truth that has become very evident after learning of the many ecological interactions covered in this course, must encourage us to protect the remaining Acadian forests by putting restrictions on the logging industry and bolstering tree species diversity through land management and conservation efforts. As we've learned in this course, nature is not some separate domain that we may visit when we need an escape from city living. Trees from forests make up the houses that we live in, must be harvested to make the paper we write on, and are crucial to the creation of the oxygen that we must breathe to survive. We are not separate from nature, and as the devastating effects of climate change have shown, it is not separate from us. We must work diligently to protect forest habitats and attempt to coexist with the land rather than exploit it in order to ensure the livelihood of future generations on this planet.